Your eye color is a portal to your soul's true mission. The eyes are the mirror of the soul. This ancient proverb holds more truth than we've ever imagined. On spiritual wisdom, today's video explores a powerful idea. Your eye color is not random. It's a portal to your soul's deepest mission. Inspired by Carl Jung's insights into the collective unconscious, we uncover how the color of your eyes may reveal your archetypal path and the purpose your spirit chose before birth. This isn't just fascinating, it's transformational. Imagine using this wisdom to align your life with your true calling. Are you ready to discover what your eyes have been trying to tell you all along? Comment below. What color are your eyes? And do you feel they reflect something deeper about you? Let's unlock the mystery together. 1. Eye contact and soul recognition. When someone locks eyes with you, and it feels like they can see something ancient behind your smile, it's not just emotional, it's archetypal. Carl Jung believed that every physical characteristic we carry is more than biology. It's a symbol, a message encoded by the unconscious mind and shaped by collective memory. Eye color, in Jung's view, is not just pigmentation. It's a portal into the archetype your soul chose before it came into this life. Jung's theory of the collective unconscious suggests that there are universal templates: warrior, mystic, healer, teacher, that live inside all of us. And the color of your eyes may offer a clue to which of these ancient patterns you've been called to embody. Blue eyes, often connected to water energy, hint at emotional depth, intuitive power, and a mission to heal or soothe through presence and perception. Brown eyes, grounded in earth energy, carry the weight of responsibility, patience, and strength markings of the stabilizers, protectors, and caretakers of the human experience. Green eyes, vibrant and rare, vibrate with transformation and rebirth, speaking to those who carry the wisdom of many lifetimes and are here to disrupt stagnation and awaken growth wherever they go. Hazel eyes, a fusion of multiple tones, often belong to souls who carry hybrid missions. Teachers who are also rebels, healers who are also warriors, always shifting roles to bring balance to complexity. Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And your eyes, more than any other feature, may be the first hint of who that is. Think about the people you've met, whose gaze you could not forget. Was it the color, or was it the energy within the color? Archetypes are not just roles in myth or folklore. They are alive within each of us, quietly shaping our desires, fears, relationships, and paths. If you've ever felt that your calling in life is bigger than your personality or upbringing, if you've ever been drawn to a path with no logical explanation, Jung would say that's your unconscious trying to speak to you. And the eyes of yours and others are one of the primary channels through which that unconscious energy flows. In every culture across time, eyes have been known as the mirror of the soul. But mirrors do more than reflect. They reveal. And what they reveal isn't just feeling its design, purpose, memory. To look into the eyes of another is to glimpse the divine pattern written into their being. And to look into your own is to remember what you were born for. The soul doesn't just choose a body, it chooses a form that can carry the frequency of its mission. This is why your eye color matters, not as vanity, but as vibration. Blue calls forth sensitivity and insight. Brown carries the pulse of ancient loyalty. Green speaks to rebirth. Hazel dances between the worlds. These aren't decorations, they are directives. Jung's legacy reminds us that we are not blank slates. We are myth in motion, living blueprints of soul energy shaped by both past and purpose. When the unconscious becomes conscious, as Jung taught, we stop walking blindly and start walking with intention. And once you understand that your eyes were never random, that they are in fact one of your soul's oldest signatures, you begin to treat them not as features, but as clues. Clues to who you are. Clues to why you're here. Clues to what you came to awaken in the world. If you've ever locked eyes with someone and felt an instant soul connection, share your story in the comments so others can feel that magic too. If you haven't yet experienced it, comment, "I'm ready to open your heart to the deeper language of the soul." 2. Carl Jung's hidden research. While most people believe that eye color is just a genetic detail, Carl Jung saw something far more profound. He believed your eye color reflects a spiritual imprint encoded deep within your soul. According to his more mysterious and often ignored research, the iris is not merely a biological feature, but a window through which your archetypal soul blueprint reveals itself. These archetypes' timeless energies, like the sage, the warrior, the healer, or the creator, exist within the collective unconscious of humanity. But Jung proposed that each person is born with a dominant archetype. This archetype shapes your perspective, your emotions, your choices, and the path your life naturally gravitates toward. And the color of your eyes? It's the outer signal of that inner essence, a visual clue to the spiritual role your soul was designed to embody in this lifetime. Jung understood archetypes not just as symbols in mythology or dreams, but as living psychological patterns that influence your deepest desires, fears, and callings. He believed the iris, the intricate design of colors and shapes, acts as a psychic fingerprint, revealing the spiritual energy that guides your being. Brown eyes often reflect groundedness and inner strength, suggesting a soul blueprint of the protector, the guardian, or the wise elder, someone meant to lead, stabilize, and serve as a source of strength for others. Blue eyes, often associated with clarity and emotional depth, may express the soul of the seer or the awakener, drawn to truth, inner vision, and the unraveling of illusion. Green eyes, rare and captivating, may indicate a soul archetype tied to healing, transformation, or spiritual alchemy, someone who lives between the worlds, guided by both feeling and insight. Hazel, gray, or other uniquely blended eye colors often speak of complexity, multidimensional awareness, or a soul that defies simple categorization, holding multiple missions across different lifetimes. These aren't just poetic ideas. They're reflections of ancient spiritual patterns that live beneath the surface of everyday life. When Jung spoke of the collective unconscious, he wasn't referring only to myths or fairy tales. He meant that within each of us are universal currents of energy. And when we recognize which archetype is speaking through us, we begin to live with more clarity, alignment, and depth. Your eye color, then, becomes a map, a subtle but powerful guide that can help you understand what kind of energy you're meant to channel in this lifetime. It can explain why you've always been drawn to certain roles, why certain types of pain feel strangely familiar, or why specific people trigger your deepest awakenings. To see someone's eyes is to witness their spiritual frequency made visible. This is why you may have felt mesmerized or even unsettled when locking eyes with someone who sees through you. That moment isn't just chemistry or coincidence. It's archetypal recognition. It's your soul responding to something ancient and sacred, a call to remember. Eye color, in this sense, becomes a spiritual language. And when you learn to read it, you begin to see not just with your eyes, but with your entire being. You stop living at the surface and start navigating from your soul's blueprint. The spiritual lesson hidden in this awareness is that you're not randomly shaped by fate. You're carrying a mission imprinted in your very biology. Your eyes hold a silent message about your destiny. And the more you listen, the more your life begins to unfold in the direction it was always meant to go. Comment below, I carry the soul of an archetype. If you're ready to explore the truth behind your eye color and unlock the mysteries Jung tried to reveal. 3. Ancient and indigenous eye wisdom. The ancient world held a wisdom that modern society has long forgotten. A belief that the color of your eyes is not simply an inherited trait, but a sacred code revealing the essence of your soul's mission. The Egyptians, druids, shamans, and mystics didn't view eyes merely as tools for vision, but as mirrors reflecting divine intention. They believed that each eye color carried a unique spiritual frequency aligned with elemental forces, earth, water, fire, and air, and that this frequency revealed the path your soul had chosen before entering this world. Yet today, surrounded by materialism and scientific reductionism, many walk through life disconnected from this truth, unaware that their eyes are silently broadcasting their deeper calling. Instead of recognizing the soul's message, we've learned to see only appearances, missing the portal to purpose that stares back at us in the mirror each morning. Carl Jung, a modern mystic cloaked in the garments of psychiatry, delved into the mysteries of the unconscious. He believed that buried within each person are archetypes, universal patterns that shape our lives, dreams, and choices. While much of his work was embraced, the most spiritual threads of his thinking were quietly ignored by mainstream psychology. One such thread, rarely discussed, is the belief that physical traits, like eye color, can reflect unconscious truths about our souls. To Jung, the eye wasn't just a sensory tool. It was a keyhole through which archetypal forces could be seen. When someone looks into your eyes and you feel as if they're seeing something ancient, it's not an illusion, it's recognition. Your eyes are not just seen, they are read. Blue eyes were thought to carry the essence of water and sky souls of deep introspection, dreamers, healers, and visionaries who often live between spiritual and physical realities. Their energy speaks of solitude and sensitivity, often misunderstood in a loud, fast-paced world. Green eyes, tied to the vibration of the forest and the pulse of creation, signify those with a gift for renewal and a calling to birth beauty from chaos. These souls are often attuned to nature's wisdom, drawn to cycles, fertility, and the healing arts. Hazel eyes were revered as alchemical souls capable of balancing the seen and unseen, capable of walking in both realms with grace. And those with brown eyes were seen as carriers of ancestral memory, souls of strength, loyalty, leadership, and grounding. They are the protectors, the holders of sacred traditions, and the anchors in times of upheaval. But how many of us have been taught to see any of this? In today's world, we're pushed toward performance, productivity, and perfection. but rarely told to pause and reflect on the silent language of the soul. No one tells us that the reason we feel restless or misplaced might be because we've ignored the very clues our own bodies are giving us. Your eyes, those unique shades you inherited, are more than the result of genes. They are ancient signals, whispering the story of who you are and why you're here. And if you've ever stood in front of the mirror and felt something stir, if you've ever locked eyes with a stranger and felt a strange sense of remembering, that wasn't a coincidence. It was your soul speaking. All you have to do is listen. If you believe your eyes carry ancient wisdom and you're ready to reconnect with your true spiritual purpose, don't hesitate to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's honor this sacred truth together. 4. Brown eyes. The Earth Keepers. Brown eyes are more than a pigment. They are a symbol of ancient wisdom, emotional depth, and sacred duty. If you have brown eyes, your soul didn't just come here to exist. It came to ground, to heal, and to guide. You carry the energy of the Earth Keeper, an archetype that Carl Jung might describe as a living embodiment of the unconscious desire to connect, stabilize, and nurture. Yours is the soul of the connector, the healer, and the guide. Without needing to speak loudly, you emanate a presence that soothes and steadies. People naturally gravitate toward you when they're hurting, lost, or in need of emotional shelter. You hold space not with noise, but with stillness. You remind others how to feel safe in a world that often feels uncertain. And yet, what most don't see is that your strength isn't learned, it's inherited. Brown-eyed souls are the quiet carriers of ancestral memory. You hold the emotional DNA of those who came before you, and you've been tasked with weaving that wisdom into modern life, not just for your own growth, but to help others heal in your presence. Carl Jung taught that individuation is the process of becoming your true self. And for you, that means learning to honor the very sensitivity that the world may have asked you to suppress. You're not here to be hardened. You're here to remember what others forget to bring: emotional intelligence, warmth, and rooted wisdom into spaces that have gone cold. But your mission doesn't come without challenges. Your gift of deep empathy can easily tip into self-abandonment. You may find yourself constantly giving, fixing, soothing, until one day you realize you've disappeared in everyone else's story. That's your shadow. And recognizing it is part of your awakening. You must learn the sacred art of balance, to serve without self-sacrifice, to offer healing without depletion. Being a healer doesn't mean you're here to bleed for others. As Jung said, you are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become. And what you are becoming is someone who can hold space for others without abandoning their own evolution. When you start to truly value your energy, your time, your soul's boundaries, you step into the highest form of your mission. You are no longer just a giver. You become a teacher through embodiment. Others learn not just from your words, but from your example. The power of your brown eyes lies not in how they look, but in what they carry. Grounded energy, timeless knowing, and a quiet strength that cannot be shaken. You are the Earth's reminder that true stability doesn't come from control. It comes from inner alignment. And the more you stand in that truth, the more your presence becomes medicine for the world. If you've ever felt like your brown eyes carry the weight of ancient wisdom, and the calling to guide others, share your story in the comments so others can learn from your path. If you're just beginning to explore your role as a connector and healer, comment, "I'm ready to awaken," so we can walk this journey together. 5. Blue eyes, the truth seers. Blue eyes are more than a color. They are a spiritual signal, a subtle declaration from the soul that you were born to see what others cannot. If your eyes are blue, your energy often aligns with the archetypes of the intuitive, the lie detector, and the visionary, not because of wishful thinking, but because your soul chose the path of deep perception before you were even born. Carl Jung spoke of the collective unconscious, the invisible network that binds humanity through shared symbols and inner truths. And your eyes are like spiritual lenses into that deeper world. You don't just see with your physical sight, you perceive, you decode, you penetrate illusions that most people unconsciously hide behind. Whether it's a soft lie told to maintain comfort, or a truth buried beneath years of silence, your presence has a way of pulling it to the surface. It's not just about knowing when someone isn't telling the full story. It's about sensing what their soul longs to say, but can't quite articulate. This is a sacred gift, but it comes with a cost. The shadow side of your gift is often a profound emotional intensity that others don't understand. You feel more, you absorb more, and sometimes the weight of that awareness can be isolating. It may feel like you're surrounded by people, yet still alone, because very few can comprehend the depth of your spiritual sensitivity. But this loneliness is not a flaw. It is the invitation to develop inner strength and compassionate wisdom. You were never meant to expose the truth to cause harm or shame. Your mission is to make truth feel safe, to create an atmosphere where people can take off their masks without fear of judgment. This is why your presence can feel like a mirror. People sense they can no longer hide, yet they also feel a strange relief in that exposure. What you offer is spiritual sanctuary, a place where truth can breathe, where wounds can be seen without being exploited, and where healing can begin. You are not here to be a judge. You are here to be a guide. The more you soften into that knowing, the more powerfully your gift works through you. When you listen without interrupting, when you hold space without rushing to fix, when you validate someone's truth without making it about your own experience, you are doing the work of a spiritual healer. Your vision does not belong in the courtroom, it belongs in the temple. Let your clarity illuminate, not interrogate. Let your insight be a bridge, not a barrier. You were born to walk the fine line between exposure and empathy, between knowing and nurturing. And when you honor that balance, your soul's mission unfolds with quiet strength. So when people confide in you without knowing why, when strangers feel safe in your silence, when you just know something no one has spoken out loud, trust it. These are not coincidences. They are echoes of your soul's agreement. And every time you choose understanding over reaction, presence over pressure, and love over fear, you are fulfilling the mission encoded in your blue eyes. That mission is spiritual in nature, subtle in expression, and powerful in its ability to change lives without ever needing to shout. Do you feel called to reveal truth and see beyond the surface? If this resonates with your soul, declare it boldly in the comments. I am a truth seer, and I trust my vision. 6. Green eyes, the catalysts. Green eyes are not merely a rare hue. They are a vibration, a frequency that signals a soul designed to catalyze transformation. According to Carl Jung's spiritual wisdom, green-eyed souls are shapeshifters, evolutionary agents beings who do not just move through life, but move life itself. They embody the essence of change, not through force or persuasion, but through the magnetic pull of their presence. They arrive in silence and yet leave behind revolutions in thought, feeling, and identity. Their soul's mission is not to be understood in conventional terms, but to awaken something long dormant in those they meet. Their energy stirs restlessness in stagnant hearts, breathes freshness into worn-out systems, and dares others to evolve. Simply by being fully themselves, they ignite awareness in others, often without speaking a word. But this gift does not come without its shadows. Green-eyed souls often face turbulence in relationships because their very essence is rooted in movement, expansion, and transformation. Carl Jung understood this inner conflict well, the tension between the evolving self and the attachments that demand constancy. As green-eyed souls rise in frequency, some people in their lives may feel abandoned or left behind. This sense of emotional dislocation is not caused by cruelty, but by the nature of the soul's path. You are not meant to shrink to fit the comfort zones of others. And yet, the pain of being misunderstood can create moments of doubt, isolation, even self-betrayal. The real mastery lies in continuing to evolve while staying emotionally rooted, not apologizing for growth, and not abandoning oneself for approval. The mission is not to force change upon others, but to embody it. That is where your true power lies. Transformation is not loud. It doesn't need to convince. It emanates. Green-eyed souls do not push, they invite. They do not demand, they model. In the stillness of their presence, people begin to question their own limitations. In the mirror of your gaze, they begin to see who they could be. Your soul carries the signature of individuation, what Jung called the sacred task of becoming fully yourself. This journey isn't about rebellion for its own sake, but about alignment with something deeper. The truth that your presence is medicine. You don't need validation, titles, or even agreement. The transformation you bring exists on a soul level, beneath language, beneath form. You are the quiet disruptor, the embodied question mark, the living edge between who people were and who they're meant to become. When others feel unsettled around you, it is not a failure. It is evidence that your soul is doing its work. Even your silence can provoke clarity. Even your absence can leave a trail of awakening. To walk this path is to know both the weight and the wonder of it. You may never be fully understood, but you will be deeply felt. Souls like yours do not follow. They forge. They are not here to maintain what has been, but to usher in what could be. To wear green eyes is to carry within them the blueprint of disruption, evolution, and sacred reordering. You are not here to fit in. You are here to spark the remembrance of truth in others. And when you accept that, when you stop apologizing for it, the world around you begins to transform, not because you demanded it, but because you became it. Do you feel the call to awaken transformation in others just by being yourself? If this resonates with your soul, declare it in the comments. I am the catalyst for change, and I embody transformation. 7. Hazel eyes, the divine mirrors. Hazel eyes are more than just a rare combination of green, brown, and gold. They are the divine mirrors of this world. Those who carry this eye color often embody the sacred archetypes Carl Jung might have called the adapter, the reflector, and the chameleon. These souls have been gifted with an extraordinary mission to reflect the hidden talents, truths, and dormant brilliance within others. You don't just see people, you see through them. You intuitively sense what they're capable of long before they believe it themselves. You shift gracefully from one environment to another, blending, sensing, adjusting not to impress, but because your soul was designed to be a mirror for transformation. And this is where your true power lies, not in speaking loudly, but in being able to listen so deeply that others feel seen for the first time. You are the spiritual chameleon, adapting not out of weakness, but out of intuitive mastery. Jung taught that the unconscious mind connects all of us through archetypes, and your presence activates those archetypes in others, calling forth something ancient, something eternal, something they didn't even know was waiting inside of them. But within this divine flexibility lies a silent danger. When you're constantly shifting and adapting, when you're always reflecting others' light, it becomes far too easy to forget your own. You start asking yourself, who am I when no one's watching? Who am I when I'm not mirroring the world around me? The shadow of the hazel-eyed soul is this quiet erosion of identity, not through trauma, but through constant transformation. Carl Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And for you, that means learning how to be water without becoming formless. It means learning how to be a mirror without disappearing behind the reflection. Your soul path is not about holding one rigid identity. It's about having a deep inner center so steady that even when the surface shifts, the core remains untouched. You were never meant to become fixed, predictable, or labeled. You were meant to move like light across water fluid, intuitive, awake. And so your mission is to walk the fine edge between presence and absorption, to help others see themselves clearly while never abandoning your own essence, to adapt with intention, not to please, but to awaken. The energy you carry is that of sacred neutrality, holding space without judgment, mirroring without manipulation, offering clarity without ego. You are not here to overpower. You are here to illuminate. Your strength is subtle but profound. You teach others how to find themselves by simply being who you are. But that requires radical self-awareness. Jung also warned that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And yet, with just one glance, your hazel eyes invite them in. You hold up a mirror to their soul, and in that moment, something shifts. A spark, a remembrance, a truth long buried begins to surface. Still, you must never forget, you are not just a mirror. You are a masterpiece in motion. You are not here only to reflect others. You are here to live your own mythology, write your own story, speak your own truth. Let your adaptability be guided by your integrity, not your need to fit in. Let your flexibility serve your purpose, not your fear. And when the world becomes loud and chaotic, return to your center. Ground into your own soul's rhythm, because it is from that sacred place that your reflections gain their power. As Jung knew well, The soul is not a fixed structure, it's a living mystery. And you, with hazel eyes, were born to embody that mystery, not by standing still, but by flowing with presence, by reflecting with purpose, and by becoming the very mirror through which others remember who they truly are. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe for more wisdom on how your unique energy, just like your eyes, can become a divine mirror that awakens the hidden potential in others. Eight, archetypal resistance due to life misalignment. Most people walk through life feeling disconnected, not because they lack purpose, but because they are unknowingly rejecting their spiritual design. Carl Jung taught us that every human being carries within them an archetype, a core spiritual pattern that reveals their soul's unique mission on earth. One of the most overlooked yet profoundly symbolic indicators of that archetype is your eye color. It's not merely genetic, it's energetic. It broadcasts your soul's frequency and the path you were meant to walk. Yet in a world obsessed with conformity, people abandon this blueprint in exchange for belonging. They suppress their true nature to fit in, to avoid judgment, to feel safe, and in doing so, they cut themselves off from the very source of their spiritual vitality. This creates what Jung might call archetypal resistance, a silent war within, where the soul's true energy is denied expression. That resistance doesn't just stay hidden, it seeps into everything. Your energy, your relationships, your confidence. You feel exhausted, unclear, or emotionally numb, not because you're broken, but because you're misaligned with who you really are. Each eye color points to a specific spiritual archetype that carries both a mission and a talent. Blue eyes often represent the visionary, the one meant to see beyond the visible world, to imagine, to innovate, to pierce illusions. When visionaries are trapped in routine, forced into predictable lives, or discouraged from dreaming big, their light dims, and they start to feel invisible to themselves. Green eyes frequently belong to the healer, those attuned to emotional energy, sensitivity, and the sacred art of transmuting pain into wisdom. But when healers are told to toughen up, shut down, or stop feeling so much, they begin to lose their spiritual equilibrium, wandering in search of a connection they were born to create. Brown eyes carry the guardian archetype souls, grounded in stability, protection, and silent strength. When they are made to feel that their groundedness isn't special, or when their nurturing presence is taken for granted, they may fall into patterns of resentment, overgiving, or burnout. The soul doesn't erupt when ignored. It withdraws. First, there's restlessness, then emotional confusion, and eventually, a kind of spiritual silence that feels like you've lost the thread of your own life. Jung warned, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate," reminding us that we must awaken to the energy we carry within, or risk becoming strangers to ourselves. You were never meant to be a copy of someone else. You were designed with a frequency, a message, and a mission that the world needs. Your eye color holds a portal, a living mirror of what your soul came here to embody. And when you stop resisting that inner current and begin honoring the archetype within, your energy starts to return. Your vision becomes clearer, and you begin to attract experiences that mirror your spiritual truth. Don't shrink yourself to fit the world. Let the world expand to meet the fullness of your spirit. Stop apologizing for being different. You weren't made to blend in. You were made to awaken others by being fully, unapologetically yourself. If you feel this truth in your spirit and you're ready to realign with who you truly are, repeat after me. I release resistance and accept my divine design. My soul remembers its mission, and I choose alignment today. 9. Integration practice. Every moment you feel either energized or drained is your soul speaking through the body, quietly revealing whether you're moving in harmony with your deeper truth or betraying it. Carl Jung believed that beneath the surface of our personalities lie ancient archetypes, universal patterns of behavior that shape the trajectory of our souls. These aren't abstract concepts. They show up in your everyday experiences. When you walk away from a meeting, a conversation, or a task and feel completely depleted, it's not just exhaustion, it's your soul's signal that you're out of alignment. On the other hand, when you engage in something that leaves you feeling expansive, clear, and alive, it's a sign you've touched your true path, the unique energetic blueprint your soul was meant to follow. Most men have been conditioned to ignore these signs, to power through discomfort, to suppress the wisdom of the body, and dismiss the voice of the soul in favor of productivity and logic. But the truth is, these subtle energetic shifts are more accurate than any map. They are a divine compass leading you back to who you were always meant to be. Small, conscious decisions are all it takes to start restoring harmony. Saying no when your body tightens. Saying yes when your heart opens. These aren't just preferences. They're the language of the soul making itself known through your nervous system. Jung warned that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And most people are being dragged by unconscious habits and obligations that rob them of their energy. Pay attention to how you feel after spending time with someone. Do you feel alive or do you feel smaller? Notice how your energy shifts during your workday. Are there tasks that drain you even before you begin, and others that give you more energy the longer you stay in flow? These moments aren't accidents. They are patterns. They are your soul showing you where you've been wounded, where you're healing, and where you belong. The good news is, you don't have to make dramatic changes to realign. The most powerful shifts come from the smallest acts of honesty. Start by tracking your energy, not just your time. Begin to trust the part of you that knows when something feels right, even if it makes no sense to others. Slowly but surely, you reclaim the rhythm of your own being. The masculine soul longs for purpose, but purpose doesn't always roar. It often whispers. And that whisper speaks clearest in the quiet spaces where you listen, adjust, and return to what feels true. Your job isn't to become someone else. It's to remember who you were before the world told you what you should be. That remembering begins every time you honor the shifts in your energy and follow them like sacred breadcrumbs. Because the soul doesn't lie. It only waits for you to finally listen. If this message has stirred something within you, speak it into being. I trust the signs of alignment in my life. I welcome the small shifts that bring soul harmony. And if it resonates, Share your journey in the comments. Your awareness might inspire someone else's breakthrough. As we close this exploration into Carl Jung's powerful insight on eye color and the soul's true mission, remember this: your eyes are more than just windows. They are portals, revealing a deeper purpose that your soul came here to fulfill. Whether your eyes reflect the stillness of deep waters or the fire of ancient knowledge, they carry messages encoded in light messages, waiting for you to remember who you truly are. If this message spoke to you, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom for more soul-deep revelations. And make sure to turn on notifications so you never miss the next chapter in your spiritual awakening. Your journey has only just begun. Why strong souls are born into toxic families. Carl Jung's view on trauma and spiritual wisdom. Out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls. The most massive characters are seared with scars. Khalil Gibran. Welcome to Spiritual Wisdom. In today's video, we explore a profound truth. The strongest souls are often born into the most painful families, not as punishment, but as preparation. Drawing from Carl Jung's insights into trauma and spiritual awakening, we'll uncover how your early chaos may have been the crucible that shaped your purpose. This isn't just philosophy, it's a map for healing, for growth, and for stepping fully into your spiritual power. As you listen, ask yourself, how has your pain shaped your strength? Comment below and share your journey. Your story might inspire someone else to reclaim their light. 1. Pain as preparation, not punishment. Your difficult family isn't a punishment, it's a proving ground. It's not a cosmic mistake or some cruel twist of fate. It's the very place your soul chose to awaken, not to survive, but to transform. Carl Jung believed that every person has a deep inner drive toward individuation, the process of becoming whole, of discovering who we truly are beneath the conditioning and chaos. For strong souls, this journey often begins not in peace, but in dysfunction. When you are born into a toxic family, your soul enters a battlefield disguised as a home. And while others may crumble under the weight of criticism, rejection, and silence, you are different. You're not here to conform. You're here to break patterns that have lasted generations. Pain was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to carve you open so something greater could emerge. The betrayals, the emotional neglect, the pressure to be someone you're not, these weren't there to erase you. They were there to strip away the illusions, to awaken your inner compass, to sharpen your awareness of what is real. These experiences act as a spiritual furnace, burning away false identities and inherited dysfunctions so the soul can take shape in its raw, authentic form. When you're told you're too sensitive, too emotional, too different, it's not because you're weak. It's because your sensitivity is your spiritual radar. It's what allows you to detect what others ignore. It's what makes you capable of changing the trajectory of an entire bloodline. Men who have walked through fire do not come out the same. They either become bitter or they become builders. And when you choose to become a builder, when you take your pain and use it as the foundation for wisdom, empathy, and strength, you transcend the legacy of brokenness you were born into. The soul that is able to witness chaos without becoming it, to observe dysfunction without repeating it, is not only strong, it's sovereign. Jung believed that the shadow of the hidden parts of ourselves must be faced for us to become whole. And often, that shadow first shows itself through the reflection of our own family. The father who never showed up, the mother who couldn't see us, the siblings who turned cold. These aren't just stories, they're mirrors. They reflect the parts of ourselves we must reclaim, the wounds we must tend, and the truths we must stand in. This is why strong souls are born into toxic families, not because they deserve pain, but because they are spiritually equipped to turn that pain into purpose. They are not meant to blend in. They are meant to awaken. They're not here to carry on the legacy of dysfunction. They're here to end it. Through awareness, through courage, through the relentless pursuit of inner truth, they rise not in spite of where they came from, but because of it. Have you ever seen your pain as preparation rather than punishment? If so, share how it shaped your growth in the comments so others can be inspired. If not, comment, "I'm ready to grow," to affirm your journey toward becoming your truest self. 2. Chaos as the birthplace of growth. Comfort doesn't forge strength. Chaos does. And for many strong souls, their earliest memories are shaped not by safety, but by spiritual initiation disguised as dysfunction. Toxic families, far from being accidental, serve as crucibles where your inner fire is lit. In the absence of nurturing love, you are forced to search beyond the material world for answers. You seek connection not in what is spoken, but in what is felt. When love is withheld, the soul begins to hunger not for approval, but for truth. This hunger, painful as it may be, pushes you toward your spiritual path long before you even understand what a spiritual journey is. Carl Jung believed that the process of individuation, the path to becoming your most whole, authentic self, often begins in darkness. And there is no darker place for a child than a home where their light is dimmed, ignored, or punished. Yet this darkness is not the end. It's the beginning of a deeper kind of becoming. Growing up misunderstood, criticized, or emotionally neglected teaches you to sense energies rather than rely on words. You develop the ability to read the invisible tension in a room, the unsaid emotion behind a smile. What once made you feel like a burden becomes your greatest spiritual gift: sensitivity. That sensitivity isn't weakness, it's your compass. It helps you see what others cannot and feel what others deny. And when that compass is aligned with healing and self-awareness, it becomes a force of transformation. You are not merely reacting to life, you are decoding it. The chaos you survived becomes your map, and your soul begins to guide others using the terrain you once feared. You become the source of wisdom, the mirror of truth, and the voice of clarity for those still trapped in cycles you've already broken. What once felt like abandonment by the world becomes evidence that you are being chosen by something higher, called to awaken, to rise, and to embody a deeper truth. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And that privilege is rarely found in comfort. It is revealed through trial, sculpted through heartbreak, and earned through 1,000 silent acts of courage. Your toxic family wasn't your soul's punishment. It was its training ground. Every rejection became a redirection. Every wound became an opening. Every silence taught you to hear your inner voice louder. And in those private battles, you were becoming something sacred. You were building a spiritual foundation that no one could see, but one day everyone would feel. Because strong souls are not made in safe places. They are born into the fire to learn how to carry light. And the ones who carry light despite never being given any are the ones who change the world from the inside out. Comment below. I grow through chaos. If you're ready to turn your pain into power and let your soul rise above the noise. 3. Toxic families as spiritual sharpeners. Toxic families aren't where your spiritual gifts begin, but they are the crucibles where those gifts are sharpened into power. Manipulation doesn't create your intuition, but it forces you to develop it. Rejection doesn't generate self-worth, but it pushes you to seek it inwardly. Devaluation doesn't give you strength, but surviving it does. When you grew up in emotional unpredictability, in environments where love felt conditional and approval was earned through silence or obedience, you were pushed toward a divine connection, toward something beyond the chaos. As Carl Jung once said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And sometimes that becoming begins in darkness. Spiritual evolution rarely begins in comfort. It begins where your soul is forced to awaken because everything around you feels unsafe, inauthentic, or cold. Your spiritual gifts, empathy, intuition, and emotional intelligence aren't accidents. They are tools you forged in silence when no one heard your cries, and in chaos when no one offered clarity. You were probably called too sensitive, too emotional, or too intense because you felt things others refused to feel. But what they saw as weakness was actually your spiritual radar. In families where emotions were turned into weapons, your sensitivity was your survival. It became your compass, warning you of danger when words lied. It's not that you were broken, it's that you were breaking through. Carl Jung taught that individuation, the process of becoming your authentic self, often begins with a confrontation of the shadow, the unseen parts of your psyche shaped by trauma and repression. That's what you experienced. You weren't just surviving dysfunction. You were beginning your transformation. While others chased approval, you began to seek truth. While others stayed loyal to the roles assigned to them, you questioned the script. And in doing so, you began to awaken not just to the pain, but to your purpose. Every moment you were ignored or misunderstood became fuel for your inner fire. You learned to listen to what wasn't said. You developed a relationship with the unseen, the sacred, the spiritual, because the physical environment betrayed your trust. Pain became your teacher. Silence became your sanctuary. Loneliness became your initiation. The toxic family was not the end of your story. It was the threshold. It was the spiritual boot camp where your soul learned how to see clearly in the dark. Like Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. But you didn't let your past write your fate. You made a conscious decision to grow, to wake up, and to choose love, not as something you beg for, but as something you are. And that perhaps is the most powerful transformation of all. If this message speaks to your journey, don't hesitate to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's continue growing stronger through the fire together. 4. The black sheep and spiritual immunity. Being misunderstood or labeled the black sheep is not a flaw. It's often the most visible sign of deep spiritual strength. When your family cannot recognize your light, it is usually because your soul carries a vibration meant to disrupt the generational patterns they are still clinging to. You may feel cast out, invisible, or rejected, but those very wounds are what initiate you into spiritual maturity. Carl Jung taught that the process of individuation, the path to becoming whole, often begins with confrontation, not comfort. You develop what could only be called spiritual immunity, the inner ability to detach from the approval of others, to hear your soul clearly despite the noise of criticism, and to root your identity in something higher than the roles your family assigned to you. You are not meant to be defined by the wounds they projected onto you. You are meant to rise because of them. In toxic environments where love is conditional, gaslighting is normalized, and silence is used as a weapon, strong souls are forged in isolation. You begin to see that your emotional pain is not a punishment, it's a purification. Each rejection becomes a rite of passage. Each betrayal, a sharpening of your inner discernment. You stop chasing validation and start embodying truth. You no longer need to be seen because you have seen yourself. And in seeing yourself, you become untouchable. Carl Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." That's exactly what this path forces you to do. You accept the parts they couldn't love. You reclaim the traits they called too much, and you integrate what they tried to shame out of you. You walk forward, not with bitterness, but with boundaries, not with arrogance, but with awareness. Your spirit becomes so grounded in truth that no lie about you can shake you. This is what it means to be spiritually immune, not numb, not hardened, but sovereign. You begin to recognize that their inability to love you was never about you. It was about their inability to love themselves. And rather than shrink to fit their comfort, you expand into your calling. You stop performing for connection, and instead, you radiate from wholeness. You understand that being the black sheep is sacred work. It is soul work. It is the slow, quiet, and powerful return to the self. Do you feel the power in being the black sheep? If this message resonates with your soul, affirm it in the comments. I trust my inner voice and walk in divine strength. And if this speaks to your journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Someone else might need this reminder today. 5. Karmic assignment and shadow work. You were born into a karmic classroom, not by accident, but by sacred design, a soul agreement chosen before your first breath, placing you exactly where your spiritual evolution would be triggered. If your childhood felt like chaos, if your home was more of a war zone than a sanctuary, it's because your soul was strong enough to endure what others could not. Carl Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." And that's what your life has asked of you, to face the unconscious, the buried, the painful, and to transform it into power. Toxic families don't create your wounds. They expose what's already been passed down: generational patterns, emotional suppression, inherited fear. And in doing so, they give you the raw material for your inner alchemy. You are not just surviving dysfunction. You are transmuting it into strength, truth, and spiritual depth. When others numb themselves or become replicas of their environment, you awaken. When others cling to false narratives, you seek clarity. And when others fall into cycles of blame, you begin the work of becoming conscious. That is shadow work in motion, the sacred task of integrating the parts of you that were rejected, hidden, or shamed. You were the one chosen to make sense of the madness, to see through the illusions, and to feel the pain that others avoided, because your presence is meant to break the cycle. This isn't just healing, it's spiritual leadership. You've been asked to confront betrayal and still choose love, to witness cruelty and still cultivate compassion, to walk through emotional fires and come out not bitter, but wise. That is not a weakness. That is divine resilience. Your soul knew that the only way to rise was to begin in the depths. The chaos wasn't a mistake. It was a sacred forge. And in that forge, your spiritual gifts sharpened your intuition, your empathy, your inner strength. While others stayed blind to the patterns, you saw them. While others passed them on, you decided they end with you. You are not broken because of your family's dysfunction. You are awakening because of it. And though the journey is brutal, it is also holy. You're not just healing for yourself. You're healing for the ones before you, for the ones to come, and for the world that benefits from your light. Every trigger was a teacher. Every wound was a doorway. And every time you chose growth over comfort, soul over ego, truth over denial, you reclaimed a piece of your spiritual authority. This is what it means to walk the path of the awakened soul, to take what was meant to destroy you and turn it into something sacred, something that blesses others. Your spiritual legacy is not built in comfort, it's born in fire, and you, beloved, are the flame. Are you ready to face your karmic lessons and embrace the shadows that shaped you? If so, comment below. I embrace the shadow to affirm your commitment to healing and spiritual transformation. 6. The sacred scapegoat role. In many families, the one who gets blamed, misunderstood, or pushed aside is often the very soul carrying the highest spiritual assignment. The scapegoat is never chosen by accident. It is a sacred role disguised as rejection. When you refuse to lie, when you speak uncomfortable truths, when your emotional honesty disrupts the illusion that everything is fine, you are not being difficult. You are being divinely guided. Carl Jung believed that the journey of individuation, the process of becoming whole, often begins in darkness, through suffering that cracks open the false self. Souls like yours are placed into dysfunctional systems not to mirror them, but to unravel them from within. Your refusal to conform, to fake harmony, or to participate in emotional denial is not defiance. It is spiritual integrity. You are not the weakest link in the family chain. You are the link that refuses to pass the pain forward. This path feels lonely because it is rare. While others numb themselves or pretend, you feel deeply and see clearly. And that vision makes you a threat to systems built on silence. When you challenge toxic behavior, you become the lightning rod for ancestral pain. But your soul knew this before you arrived. It chose this path not for comfort, but for transformation. You were never meant to maintain the family pattern, you were sent to end it. Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And to become who you truly are often means being misunderstood, rejected, or blamed because the truth always stings before it heals. Your soul holds the frequency of change, which is why you trigger those who fear it. But being the scapegoat doesn't mean you are broken. It means your soul is too awake to play small, too aware to lie to itself, and too strong to submit to dysfunction. You were never meant to blend into a broken system. You were meant to expose it lovingly, but powerfully. Even when your voice shakes, even when you stand alone. This pain is not punishment, it is preparation. The burden you carry is not yours alone, it is ancestral. And the courage you show by refusing to stay silent is what begins the healing for generations before and after you. You are not here to be accepted by those who cannot see clearly. You are here to shine so brightly that their blindness becomes unbearable. That is the sacred fire you carry. So if your family couldn't handle your light, it's because it wasn't meant to comfort them. It was meant to awaken them. And whether they wake up or not, your soul has done its part. You weren't born to keep the peace. You were born to create real peace by ending what never should have been passed down in the first place. That's the power of the scapegoat. That's the power of your soul. If you've ever felt like the family scapegoat, know that your courage has meaning. Subscribe now for more wisdom on transforming pain into purpose and breaking generational cycles with spiritual strength. 7. 3 soul survival tools. When you're born into a toxic family, your soul isn't being punished, it's being prepared. The pain, the chaos, the constant walking on eggshells aren't signs of weakness. They're soul-forging fires designed to awaken your deeper truth. Carl Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." And in toxic families, darkness is often all around you. Criticism disguised as concern, rejection masked as tradition, manipulation veiled as love. But even in that storm, your soul is equipped with tools that keep you tethered to your divine purpose. The first is what we can call the divine umbilical cord, an unbreakable, radiant lifeline between you and your source. This inner cord is invisible, yet it holds more power than any earthly bond. When your physical family fails to provide emotional safety, this divine connection offers you spiritual nourishment and emotional regulation. It reminds you that you belong not to dysfunction, but to the divine intelligence that birthed your soul. When the world goes silent or hostile, that cord whispers, "You are not alone." But to navigate this path with clarity, you must also master shadow projection awareness, a principle rooted deeply in Carl Jung's teachings. What your family says about you often reveals more about their inner wounds than your worth. The insults, dismissals, and blame are rarely reflections of your identity. They are projections of their denied and suppressed selves. Jung taught that the shadow is everything within us we refuse to see. And in toxic dynamics, these shadows are constantly hurled outward. The moment you internalize their pain as your truth, you begin to abandon yourself. But when you learn to see their cruelty as a mirror of their inner turmoil, not your failure, you reclaim your emotional power. You become less reactive, more rooted in who you truly are, and you stop bleeding energy over lies that were never yours to carry. Still, awareness is not enough without action, and that's where boundaries and distance come in. It's often said that blood is thicker than water, but the truth is, soul health matters more than tradition. Creating space, whether emotional or physical, from those who harm you is not an act of betrayal. It's an act of sacred protection. Carl Jung once noted that loneliness does not come from having no people around, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important. In toxic families, your truth is often unwelcome, your light too blinding. Choosing peace over proximity is not giving up, it's growing up. Distance doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care about your healing more. It gives your nervous system room to breathe, your spirit a chance to recalibrate, and your soul the space to remember its own voice. When these three tools are honored, the divine umbilical cord, shadow projection awareness, and boundaries with distance, you begin to transform, not in spite of your story, but because of it. Your soul, forged in fire, doesn't just survive, it evolves. If this message resonated with your soul, affirm your journey in the comments by writing, "I protect my light, I trust my source, and I choose peace." Let this be your declaration of inner strength. And if this video brought clarity or comfort, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment of spiritual wisdom. Thank you for taking this journey with us today. Remember, being born into a toxic family doesn't mean you were cursed. It means your soul was chosen for a higher path. Your strength, your insight, and your sensitivity are not weaknesses. They are spiritual gifts meant to transform not just your life, but the world around you. Carl Jung believed that the journey through trauma leads to individuation, the becoming of your true self. If this message resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, share it with someone who needs this wisdom, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom for more content that speaks to your soul. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment of transformation. Your healing is sacred. Your journey is divine. And your story is just beginning.